Namaskar. Welcome to PGurus Prime Time. I am here today with Suhel Seth. No, just joking. I am in Silicon Valley. He's in Budapest. But we are going to have a rocking conversation about India, brand India, and why it is so important. Before we jump into the topic, Suhel, how's the weather out in Budapest and what are you doing there?
Namaskar. I've come here on work, some lectures. It's very, very warm. It's almost 39 degrees Celsius, so it's not that I've escaped to cooler climes.
Wonderful. You have a great time there, and the quality of the connection is excellent, superb. As always, a pleasure to have you on our channel, Suhail. So today we're going to talk about the battering. That's all I can say. Brand India is taking at the hands of the more nimble e-commerce giants. We don't need to take the names. We know all the Amazons of the world, Walmart now, because actually they bought Flipkart. And so how is the mom and pop store, the Kirana store that's at the end of the road from where you live, how are they going to survive this onslaught, especially in a COVID and a post-COVID world? So hey, what are your thoughts? And at the end, we are going to discuss how the Kirana stores can fight back and thrive in this environment. We'll do that at the end, but I want to hear your perspective, sir.
So, as a person who's involved with brands and who's been involved with brands for years, I worked on the branding entry for Vodafone, for Diageo. So I have no aversion to foreign brands. So this is not a debate about India versus foreign. It's not a debate about jingoism. It's not a debate about nationality. It's a simple debate about the law. The law is supposed to be equal, and the law must demonstrably be equal. You can't have one law for someone who wears a different national flag and another law for Indians. So let me take you very briefly for your viewers into a quick tour of history. About 21 years ago, when foreign direct investment was allowed in what they call retail, it was very clearly said that it would have to be retail which did not include the individual. So for instance, when Metro set up its stores, it was a cash and carry, but it was an aggregator. It would sell to wholesalers, where the benefits would go to Kirana stores, because then Kirana stores would register with Metro and they would buy in bulk. And therefore, they would buy at a lower price and have a healthy margin compared to anyone else, qua their customers. But with Metro itself, we saw deviance at play. What had happened was Metro then used and created some preferred suppliers. Those preferred suppliers were registered. A Sree Iyer or a Suhel Seth could walk in as individuals. They would be treated as one of those 12 registered suppliers, buy the produce or buy the stuff. Who gets hurt? The Kirana store. Because then Sree Iyer, the individual, is not buying from his neighborhood Kirana store or mom and pop shop. Those violations were tracked down. Those violations were then detected. Nothing happened. Metro went through many avatars, as you rightly said, and people kept their eyes shut. Narendra Modi, as Chief Minister of Gujarat, on September 14, 2012, chided the then UPA government, saying that, look, there is an issue and that we need to address that issue. You cannot have foreign brands in multi-sector retail. But no one bothered. No one cared. No one said, oh, we don't give a toss about it. And this continued to this day. When the Amazons and the Flipkarts started doing business, we then discovered that Amazons and the Flipkarts also had what we call preferred suppliers. Ironic, one of them is Narayan Murthy's company, or a company that Narayan Murthy is associated with, called Cloudtail.
Yes.
Then we discovered that Amazon, which was actually not supposed to be in the individual selling business, became an individual seller. So not only that, what also happened, and this is where the legal issues are very, very important, Amazon was not supposed to create any preference of suppliers. Let me give you a very simple example that your viewers will understand. Let's say I'm going to Woodbury Commons in New York, or I'm going to let's say, Crawford Market in Bombay. Imagine Amazon is supposed to be the Crawford Market. Amazon is shop neutral. It is brand neutral. It's a platform. It is not an influencer telling Sree that, oh, you buy only stuff from him. They changed from Crawford Market to actually telling Sree that if you want to buy detergent, buy it from this fellow. If you want to buy apparel, buy it from that fellow. How did they do it? They did it through algorithms. They did it by creating another brand called Solimo. Then they did it through preferred suppliers, which are there on the site. Plus, you tell me, if I'm creating a platform, would I actually need to spend $1 billion? That too, where I'm making a loss. Today, Amazon's entire business in India is loss making. Why don't they care? Because as I said in an article 2 days ago, the money is American. It's cheap money. It's money that doesn't bother them. It doesn't rankle them. Look, Sree, I'm very, very clear. In the pandemic, and I'm so glad that out of empathy and compassion, you mentioned the pandemic. During the pandemic, when home deliveries were banned, when movement was banned, the Kirana store owners, they risked life and limb, their own families, and they made sure that milk and bread and vegetables and eggs were provided to families at times on credit, because they also knew the destruction that had been caused because of income elimination thanks to COVID. How did we thank them? With nothing. Now, I'm a believer that the Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, and the Commerce Minister, Piyush Goyal, have their heart in the right place. But I'm not interested in the heart being in the right place. What we also need is intervention in policy. We need the policy to be adhered to. No one is asking for anything. I'm not involved with any retailer, so I have no axe to grind. But the point is, I'm saying, if you're framing the law, then frame the law for everyone. Tomorrow, if an Indian company had done the same thing, you'd have put the promoters in prison. You would have shut the company down in 5 days. But you can't do anything because you're worried about the White House, you're worried about the US Secretary of Trade, you're worried about the US Secretary of Commerce. How can you allow this conflict to arise qua brand India? There are some stupid people who make the erroneous argument, oh, that Amazon also sells Indian brands. That's not the argument. The argument is very simple. Do they follow India's sovereign laws? Answer is no. Have they adhered to the foreign direct investment policy, which was meant for foreign retailers? The answer is no. Have they continued to be brazen about it? The answer is yes. Has there been any policy intervention? The answer is no. Now you tell me, where in the world would you see Pepsi-Cola and Coca-Cola come together to fight any battle? They only fight a battle when the category is under threat. For the first time ever, you saw Flipkart and Amazon come together and fight who? The government of India, the Competition Commission of India. And you and I both know, when you get great legal eagles, it's very easy to continue to postpone the discourse in India's legal framework. The Karnataka High Court 4 weeks ago then issued an order saying, no, this case must be pursued, that we are not going to issue a stay. So, if you look at the whole structure, no one's argument is that, oh, favor local and don't favor foreign, but don't queer the pitch. You can't have an unlevel playing field for India and a seemingly attractive illegal playing field for foreign brands. That can't happen, and that mustn't happen.
Absolutely, and I agree with you 100%. And viewers, we are taking questions for this hangout, but please stay on topic. That way it becomes relevant for this discussion. And also, viewers, you're probably seeing that Suhel has a very, very tight grip over how things are sold, how things are branded in India, and I'm sure there is much to learn. Some of you may be employed in some of these companies. Remember that we are not saying that tomorrow Amazon and Walmart / Flipkart should be shut down. No, it is level the playing field. what does it take to level the playing field? That's what we are looking about. And also, you brought upon a very beautiful humanitarian aspect of your Kirana store. He knows every member of the family in your house, because he has a captive audience of maybe 100 families or 200 families, and you develop relationships over time, and that is under threat, because we feel like, okay, we're buying 4 things from Amazon, let's also buy groceries or something else and so on. It is coming at an expense, because the Kirana guy is stocking the stuff hoping that you will purchase it, and when you disrupt his supply chain, then it starts backing up, and this has got not very good consequences. But Suhel, before we go to the next question, I want to kind of establish the context of what happened in the United States. 50 years ago, United States had a lot of what you would call as mom and pop stores. Small villages, rural America, they still exist, except now once the population hits a certain number, 50,000 maybe, Walmart would come and put a shop there, and the main street where the mom and pop stores used to be there, they all suffered because of that. Now, how did they fight back? They went to the city councils, which are these 50,000 plus city councils, and they said, listen, this guy is eating our lunch, you have to do something about it. So what they managed to do, they could not keep Walmart out. What they managed to do was, they said that Walmart shall be outside the city premises. In other words, you have to go 20 miles one way to go and shop at Walmart. So this kind of restriction was put in place. It is still in place. However, in 10-20 years, now Amazon started eating Walmart's lunch. And now Walmart is fighting back by buying Flipkart. I'm sure they're going to roll out the same technology across the world and so on and so forth. But the point I'm trying to make here is that it is a changing world, and we have to change with times. So how do we, that is we, me, I'm putting myself as a Kirana store, because I also sell on Amazon. I don't have the tailwind of Cloudtail with me to help push my books. I have my own brand, Sree Iyer's books, and I sort of am neither here nor there, in the sense that I'm not a preferred customer, but I try to be what I can to try and use my brand name, my channel such as this. You guys are supporting me. But let's get back to the point. Suhel, how does the Kirana owner fight back, in your opinion?
I think it's a brilliant question. And there are two parts to it. And let me address both. Under all governments, whether it's the United States of America or the Republic of India, now there are ministries which look at consumer affairs, which basically monitor, police is a bad word, but monitor, look at the whole realm of retail and the impact it has on consumers, consumer grievances, blah, blah, blah. Now, here's the thing. There is no issue that technology is going to overtake us all, as it has. I'm not a technology fearful person. Its time has come, and its time will continue to come. But here's the problem. When I have cheap American money, I'm using that money to create subvention. That subvention itself is illegal, because that money should either be taxed, or the amount that you're using for subvention should be taxed, which the government doesn't do. Number two, the Kirana stores operate on a margin that is provided to them by the manufacturer. So here's how retail normally works for those of your viewers who don't understand the Indian construct. There are 3 alternate retail routes. Number 1 is where the manufacturer sells directly to the consumer. That is done through either manufacturer-owned dealers or through dealerships that have been licensed by the manufacturer. It happens in automotive products. It happens in many other categories, where the manufacturer and the dealer come to an agreement that this is the stated margin and this is what you will be paid if you buy a car or you buy a motorcycle, you buy a scooter. The second is where the manufacturer has a selling team. The pivot of that team is the WD, the wholesale distributor. The wholesale distributor then gives it to the retailer. The retailer is what you and I are calling the Kirana shop or the Kirana store, the mom and pop shop. The third is where the manufacturer sells directly without any dealer They could do that online or they could do that offline, where there are company owned. So we call them company owned stores. Now, here's the thing. Look at Samsung, which is the largest electronics company in India for white goods, all of that. Samsung's products are available on Amazon at a lower rate than Samsung itself sells. Now, you tell me, how on earth is any Kirana store going to, counter that? Number two, where the hell is the competition commission then? You and I both know how strict and severe the antitrust laws are in America. Here in India, we have had no antitrust law impact. So the result is a Sree Iyer, if he owns Samsung, he himself can't sell his products. And his own products are being sold at a lesser price, which you and I might call a discounted price. Now, the conventional argument would be, oh, but the consumer is benefiting. No. The consumer may be benefiting in price. The consumer is not benefiting in terms of service. Tomorrow your fridge breaks down. Will Amazon come and service it? No. Tomorrow if something happens, who's going to be responsible? And I'm just using Amazon as a name. I have nothing against Amazon or Flipkart or whoever else it is. Number three, which is very interesting. Suppose the subvention on a $10,000 or 10,000 rupees, I'm just converting dollars because of your viewers, but let's say 10,000 rupee, the margin is 10%. And that 10% margin is now, has to be reduced in value terms because I'm selling that for 8,000. Who's losing? The loss is coming directly to the company oblique the Kirana store. And why? Because the Kirana stores are being pushed out of business. Today, I'm able to order even groceries online through Big Basket or through Amazon for a price which is much lower than what I need to pay or than what is listed on the product. How on earth are Kirana stores going to survive if they're the backbone of your economy as far as the retail sector is concerned? You tell me that. We've already put 2.5 crore people out of jobs, 25 lakh establishments done and dusted. I mean, how on earth, Sree, can a country support this kind of what I call lawlessness? So no one's argument is that the consumer shouldn't benefit from a lower price. But a lower price cannot come at the cost of Indian laws being blatantly violated, of Indian laws not being adhered to, and the Indian backbone of the retail trade being completely wiped out. So my thing is that you expect the Indian trader to pay his taxes, you expect GST to be honored, you expect sales tax, GST, everything to be honored. And yet you are duplicitous and with dexterity at that when it comes to the Amazons and the Flipkarts of the world. How can that happen? Especially when you can see the vested interests, you can see the conflict of interest. I mean, this is not rocket science, Sree. In the legal dispute, even without the legal dispute, even foreign, media organizations like Reuters have written reams and reams of articles highlighting the lacunae in terms of adherence to the law by these foreign companies. But again, nothing seems to happen. And we cannot allow a brand like Brand India, which is not a banana republic, it's a sovereign republic, which has a robust and meaningful judiciary, to allow this brazenness to happen. I mean, that's my limited point, qua this question of yours.
And I hear you, Suhel, and let's just take a look at it in a couple of ways. I want to be the Kirana store guy. For better or worse, you are having a phone. It may be not a smartphone, it may be just a feature phone. And I would urge every Kirana store to go out and buy a smartphone today. Please do it, because it's going to pay for itself many times over in a very, very short amount of time. And I'll tell you how. Now, what is happening is there are new software companies, startups. In fact, I'm standing in front of Bengaluru for those who haven't seen it. So the point for that is that Bengaluru is the place where startups happen in India. A lot of them. I mean, Gurgaon is also very close behind it. But I just picked one. Suhel lives in Gurgaon, so he's representing the other side. So the point here is that there are lots of startups now that are going to enable you, the person who has a unique commodity, to sell directly worldwide. I'm not talking just India, worldwide. This is going to happen. This is already in place. I know of a few startups that are already putting these things in place, whereby what you can do is, okay, I have this product and I can sell it for this price. You put it out there and find out, you might get three bidders. One guy might be 100 kilometers away. He will only give you 10 rupees per kilo. There may be another guy 500 kilometers away. He might give it for you, he might give you a 50 rupee margin, but you have to wait for a week for the money to come in because he has to receive the goods and only then he'll transfer it or something like that. My point here is you will be able to decide what it is that where do you want to sell it and how do you want to realize your money. This is going to be a great leveler because all this hoarding that used to happen in India, think elections, think onions, think potatoes. This used to be a standard gimmick, right? All that is going to go out the window. Whatever the farmers' agitation might be doing, that is, it's gone. They cannot seeing in what is coming down the pipeline for startups. You will be able to sell regardless of which state you are in and be able to realize the full potential for your product. The second thing I would suggest is the Kirana stores will be able to find out what is it that is unique in the place they live in. That product India has such a rich panoply of product and opportunities. You have to find out what is it that is unique. The pulses that are grown in your region might be getting just the right amount of sun, just the right amount of water, and therefore it might taste a little bit better than somebody else. So try to get those things from your local wholesaler. You have to do a little bit of work. You have to think, look, this is now a bazaar. Think of it like a mandi where there are hundreds of thousands of sellers. How do I stand out in this? Once you try to answer that question, believe me, all the Kirana stores will be able to thrive. I'm not talking about survive. I'm talking about thriving because there is so much opportunities that is available. The world is going to be a marketplace. Take my word for it, 6 months down the road, a year down the road, because this COVID, this pandemic thing is here to stay. Nobody knows how to control it. Therefore, there's always going to be a variant. There's always going to be a strain. The best thing to do is, how do I adjust to the new normal? This is my 2 cents. Suhel, you are a man on the ground. Perhaps you can weigh in.
It's very interesting, Sree, what you've just said, but it's interesting when you're looking at a very urbanized economy. The same doesn't hold true for India. You go 20 kilometers out of defined city limits of Delhi or Mumbai, and you are in what I call the non-Amazon Flipkart world. People don't even want to do deliveries there. What is the backbone of your retail economy? The backbone are Kirana stores. The backbone are the mom and pop shops. You very rightly said, oh, they should invest. I was reading some time ago, and this has happened because, that's how Mukesh Ambani is thinking, that Jio was actually giving out, access devices which would help these people aggregate, just like they did for, fishermen, for soil testing, blah, blah, blah. So it's not that companies are not marrying digital with on-ground facilitation. So people are doing it. My point is very simple. What do I do with 72% of India, which does not have the benefits of the Amazons and the Flipkarts, delivery boys and girls? Number 2, please understand the reality of the Indian economic situation today. And it's not only today, it's been there for the past several things. Pack sizes is what you and I understand because we come from an urban mindset. Loose, no one understands. 87% of India's groceries and wherewithal is in the loose market. You know why? Because people can't afford large pack sizes. You know why? Because of economic compulsions. These are real. It's very fancy for people who don't understand things that are going on to talk about, oh, but we are getting our deliveries. It's utter rubbish. Now, let me tell you the realities. There are people who buy milk once in 3 days, and they know that the Kirana store mom and pop owner will give them credit. The Kirana owner has a relationship. Do you have a relationship with the e-commerce companies? No, you're just a number or a prime member. That's who you are. Number two, let me give you a close to home example. My wife and I also have a home in Goa. And when we are not there, we have 10 dogs because, we are dog lovers. We are not there, the staff is there. You may not be able to give or send, Paytms or money transfers. But Gopal, who is in 2 lanes next to our house, is always there for us when and if we need him. So the point I'm making is it's all right to keep talking through a prism of the economy. It's also very important to talk through the prism of humanity. It's to talk through the prism of purposefulness. And even that is not my argument. My argument is, let's say you become so hard-hearted, you say to hell with people, to hell with, but why are you allowing the breaking of the law? Why are you allowing this impunity? And my argument is not that, oh, the Amazons and the Flipkarts should be shut down. Coexistence cannot be one at the cost of the other. That is not the meaning of coexistence. Coexistence is arriving at a place together and existing together under the laws that govern that particular country. And in our country, in India, the laws are uniform as they are supposed to be, but they're not being adhered to. And there is a blind eye being turned to the adherence towards these laws by the powers that be. And I seriously believe that Modi has his heart in the right place, or so I believe, but the bureaucracy is letting him down. So therefore, the recourse is to the judiciary. But you also know, given the speed at which our judiciary functions, given the huge backlog of cases, blah, 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 you never know when you'll get justice. And as Amartya Sen once famously said, justice is not about niti, it's not about process of going to court. It is about getting justice. It's about nyay. It's not niti, but nyay. It's not the process, but it's fairness. So, are we being fair to our Kirana stores? No. Are we being fair to our legal adherence? The answer is no. Are we being fair to the vast majority of Indians who exist because of this retail trade? No. You and I both know the amount of joblessness that has been created, unemployment that has been created because of COVID. Do you want more people out of a job because we have not been able to rein in 3 or 4 or 5 companies, foreign companies, because of their impunity towards Indian laws? The answer is no. But that's why this demands a more robust discussion. It demands a more robust public debate. And it demands each one of us as human beings, as Indians, to reorient our thinking. It's very easy, Sree, for us to keep thinking all our lives about ourselves. We can traverse this journey of life by being selfish and never being selfless. Which is why in the article I wrote that I was a bit dismayed to learn from various associations, and they know of my past relationship with the House of Tata. So when I was told that even the Tatas, even the House of Tata was actually aligning itself with foreign companies rather than with, I'm not saying a national cause, rather than with the adherence of the law. Because Mr. Tata is an avowed nationalist. But forget that, he's a man of integrity and fairness. He has just gone through a torturous litigation. So after writing that piece, I got a call from N. Chandrasekaran, who's the chairman of Tata Sons, saying, no, we are completely not aligned with foreign companies. Now, that's a call, and I hope it's true, as I'm sure it must be. But the point I'm making, Sree, is there are wheels within wheels. No one is asking for any gratuitous, benevolence towards anyone. I worry about the trader who in Srinagar today is being deprived of a decent, modest income. Do you know what the income is? You'd be shocked. The average income of a Kirana store in a class ABC, I'm not taking cities, class ABC town, is anywhere between 40 to 10,000 income, means the money he makes for his family. Do you think that's a fair income? On that, if he were a bank and he were actually going to make interest, if he would earn interest on credit that he gives out, he'd be making far more money. These people are sacrificing even that. And what do we give them in return? Nothing. What do we give them in return? Platitudes, saying, oh, we want investment, Atmanirbhar. You tell me, where will you be Atmanirbhar Bharat if the Bharatiya is completely wiped out? You tell me, what Atmanirbhar Bharat are you going to talk about if everything is going to be determined by the White House? You tell me, what Atmanirbhar Bharat are you going to talk about if there will be no Bharatiya part of the Atmanirbhar process and completely left out of this whole income equation? So mine is not a fight for, oh, please stop Amazon, please stop. Not at all. I'm a brand person. I believe consumers must make choices, but those choices must be choices that are available to them under the law of the land. Those choices have to be fair choices. Those choices have to be governed by legalese. Those choices have to be governed by a robust, transparent taxation system. You cannot have a situation where you turn a blind eye to foreign companies and Indian companies are constantly castigated for not following the law, for breaking the law, for violating the law. That's my problem. And that is what I get upset about.
Very illuminating talk here on this topic, Suhel. There are no easy answers. Now, will government go in and say, crack the whip and say, you shall do this, this, this? I'm sure Amazon and others will be able to stay this thing, and then it will just become a drag out thing. I don't know how long it will take to get resolution. But I think there are some ways in which this can be mitigated. I don't know, there are Kirana associations, they can all start looking at what I suggested. What is it that makes us unique? Let us see if we can establish our uniqueness based on the region we are in. This will help, because what has to happen is you got to stand above the noise, and that is something that you can. This is earthy wisdom, guys. I mean, you'll be shocked to know people associate fruits with the cities. For example, there's a town called Salem in Tamil Nadu. Salem mangoes are one of the most preferred mangoes.
Or Nagpur oranges.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. And you find that unique thing about your town, your place where you live. This is for the rural people, because you will continue to have your business, but this is how you start saving or creating an alternate source of income for you. Go ahead.
No, sorry. One more thing. To get platformed on an Amazon and Flipkart, do you know how torturous it is and how much of your margins you have to give up?
Yeah.
But because they are large aggregators, they get away with it. Under any other law, they would have been smacked on the wrists by the Competition Commission. So those are other issues. So please don't give me this baloney, that we are encouraging entrepreneurs, artisans, small traders. Rubbish. It is all what we call dikhawa. It's for, creating an impression. But it doesn't have even a shred of truth in it.
Excellent. I think if you don't mind, let's go out to questions. We have quite a few questions to go over.
Please.
And then you can start expounding on some of the concepts here. The first question is from Mr. Lee. Why did the Bansals sell Flipkart? Did the Indian government contact them and ask them to reconsider selling off Flipkart? Flipkart could have been India's homegrown Alibaba.
Well, Mr. Lee, all I can say is that it's a question best addressed to the Bansals. I'm not privy to what happened, why it happened. I do know, and this is where it is ironic, that the Prime Minister last year, after this incursion by the roguish Chinese army, we banned all the apps, Chinese apps, and then there was a whole debate on made in country origin to be labeled blah blah blah. And now, if you notice, very recently, Flipkart changed its board composition because there was an Alibaba representation. So there are wheels within wheels. I completely agree with you. We don't know, but this is my point. There is zero transparency. Now, for Indian companies, you want them to be, holier than thou. But for foreign companies, you turn a blind eye. So I think if you know the Bansals well, you should ask them this question.
The next question is from YSK Chaitanya. Should India have a law where tax incentives are given based on the quality of the product, as quality is a major problem in India?
I think it's a great question. And to be fair to the government, for the first time I've seen in all these years, the government is working on a dual policy. And to be fair, Piyush Goyal is driving that. The policy is on two strands. Number one, the Quality Council of India, headed by Adil Zainul, who was the former managing partner of McKinsey, is looking at a made in India kind of a label, or a made in India kind of a certification, so that it's not the geo tracking or the geo symbols, but it's something more. Exactly to your point, that people who are following a certain quality norm, I don't know about incentives or whether they will give any tax incentives, but I'm sure that's the plan. And the plan is to marry what are typically Indian products across the world. I mean, Modi made yoga popular, but there are hundreds of other products, and to ensure a certain level of quality. So that's on the anvil. It's happening, and I hope it happens quickly enough. But it's a great question.
And let me add my 2 cents to this. In one of my hangouts with TV Mohandas Pai about Akshay Patra, he mentioned something very interesting. See, Akshay Patra is now spread almost all over the country. They have these huge kitchens where they are cooking food for the children. Now, they have mechanized the sorting of the incoming material, such as rice, pulses, and other things. And many people want the sorted out finished rice before it goes in, because they say you have taken out all the stones out of it. So
You know,
quality is
no,
a huge
no, I
issue.
think, no, and what you've just said, and I must rededicate, re-stress, I've been deeply involved with Akshay Patra. I've spoken at many of their fundraisers, and Mohandas Pai and all the lovely people who work at Akshay Patra are doing, to my mind, sterling work. Forget the sorting of rice. If they were to license chapati manufacturing to people in America, half of our Indian food issues in America would go. I'm always dying for a hot, fluffy chapati when one is in New York or DC or Chicago or wherever.
So true, so true, so true. Next question again from Chaitanya. China has a law where a company which has more than a certain amount of turnover, for example 10 crores, has to invest 15%, 1 5, of their profits into R&D and gets tax incentive for their breakthrough. Will this work in India?
No, because what we are seeing is most of these foreign companies pulling the wool over people's eyes. They conveniently say, "Oh, we are employing X number of people," or "Oh, we are doing so much of CSR." Look, let me tell you, Sree, I'm not grateful to any company for doing CSR, because the moment you seek gratitude, it means it's not from your heart. Compassion is not transactional. Compassion is belief driven, it's relation driven, it's cause driven, but most importantly, it's mired, its edifice is empathy. So, for people to justify their existence in India and say, "Oh, we've done so much of CSR, we've done," no, we are not looking for charity as a gift. We are looking for charity as belief. And you're not doing anyone a favor. If you're earning from the community that is actually buying your products, there is no favor being done. Because please understand, India is a poor country. Our poverty is not just economic, it is also the impoverishment of opportunities. If we had a robust education system, if we had a robust healthcare system, people would be far better off than they are today. The young have been deprived. I'm involved with something called Pravaha, which is setting up again out of, but community give back, but I won't use the word CSR, where we are looking at setting up online education platforms to identify gifted children. The last Indian who won the Nobel Prize was in 1930, Sir C.V. Raman. But we've got such gifted children. They don't get the opportunity. Try getting into a school in India. I mean, it's impossible. That's if you have an existing school which has teachers. Otherwise, there's the building, but nothing else. Now, why is Pravaha doing this thing about gifted children? Because Pravaha genuinely believes that there are many hidden talents. Our entire art and cultural landscape will disappear if we don't engender, encourage, enrich, and nurture great gifted talent. Now, if I were an Amazon or a Flipkart, I would put my money in that because that's when you're investing in India. That's when you're investing in Indianness, and that's when you're investing in Indians. By setting up 14 toilets, you're not solving the problem.
I have to touch upon what you just said about Pravaha. Good luck to you on that, Suhel. So there is a program in the United States, even in the public schools, where they call it as, at least in California, they call it GATE, Gifted and Talented Education. Where
Education, yeah.
Yeah, they pick the kids who are really, really smart at a very young age, second, third, fourth grade, and they expose them to things beyond what they learn in the classroom. For instance, I've chaperoned sometimes kids. We would go to an opera. The kids are only 7, 8, 6 years old, but you would go to a full-fledged opera of 2.5 hours long and get the feeling of what is doing. There are so many moving parts, yet the music that comes out is just beautiful. So there are lots of things like this that are in play. They also get to go to science quizzes. They prepare for science competitions and things like that. Intel has a wonderful program for that to promote science, basic science research. So these are all happening. I'm sure Amazon and Flipkart, whoever is listening to this is a good thing. I hope that they take this thing to heart. The next question, sir, is from Vignesh. If Flipkart or Amazon haven't done this, probably Ambani would be doing this. Why blame only the foreign giant companies? I think you didn't blame anyone.
I didn't blame anyone. I think the question is misplaced, or the questioner is someone who reminds me of a session that I attended with the late but formidable mind Jiddu Krishnamurti. See, a lot of the problems with questions in these sessions is the people are not asking a question. They are foisting an opinion, but since they can't foist it, they're deeming it a question. So I will urge my good friend, whoever it is, to start reading Jiddu Krishnamurti. And a great book to start with would be The Seer Who Walks Alone by Popul Jaikar.
Wonderful. And let's take a look at the next question, sir. His name is BK. He's not given his name. Sir, Amazon gets 90 days credit and it gets outright payment from customers. If this doesn't get sorted out, it will kill the Kirana stores before they could wake up. So when can we expect India to act?
BK, you've said exactly what I've been saying all along, that their empanelment is torturous, their way of collecting money is torturous and completely one-sided, and there seems to be no law governing this. I mean, it is the most ridiculous. And this, mind you, BK, is a 90-day credit on a much reduced value that they are paying to the supplier. Because in order to get empaneled, they have already reduced your value manifold. So it's not as if on fair value they're giving you a 90-day delayed payment. I don't even call it credit. They're delaying your payment. Now, you tell me, which organization will say I'm working for the benefit of Indian artisans, Indian entrepreneurs, Indian manufacturers, and do this?
True. Next question is from Kikeri Venkatesh Srinivas. Is Brand India startups, actually I should say, are Brand India startups falling for the valuation trap, gains during the takeover? If yes, how to prevent this?
There is nothing to prevent greed, avarice, ambition. These three you can't ever prevent in any human society. So yes, people will seek valuation. People who offer the valuation are stupid. People who then hurriedly buy their shares are stupid. Recently, a particular organization in India got listed at a humongous valuation. I don't know where it's going. I mean, why? The problem is we are very poor students of both literature and history. If you look back at history, this is the same human greed, avarice, and ambition that drove the dot-com boom. And then you know how many people got washed aside. And it
True.
took us no less than 8 years to discover greed in another form. When the Lehman Brothers collapse triggered the entire financial crisis, we never live and learn. In fact, we are shrinking the times of historical learning.
Right, right.
1929, and then boom, 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 boom.
Yes, yes, yes. The next question is a good one. Mr. Lee wants to know, given that logistics is a dynamic spatial optimization problem in which algorithms will always beat humans, how far will the government of India be successful in protecting Kiranas?
I think it's a superb question. Sorry. Now, let me tell you about the logistical issues of India. If you look at our entire agricultural map, and as Sree very rightly said about Salem mangoes, and I talked about Nagpur oranges, the entire system of agricultural mobility has to be on the basis of agricultural produce. For that, you need three things. You need a very well distributed outlet plan. Number two, you need a cold chain. Number three, you need a mechanism of sorting out, in terms of quality control that also Sree alluded to. Now, in Himachal Pradesh, the Adanis some time ago were doing some apple sorting. Today, if you look at Reliance Retail, which is the largest in terms of their fresh stores or their, the groceries, the vegetables and all, are doing many steps more. Now, the point is, why should private companies invest in this level of logistical support when actually the government should be doing it? A. B. If you see yesterday or day before, Nitin Gadkari, who is unarguably one of the higher performing ministers in this government, the central government in India, they inaugurated another highway, which will take the time taken from market, agricultural markets to Nagpur. It'll, reduce the time by almost 60 to 70%. We are seeing these developments happen, but they need to happen at a quicker pace. I remember in the good old days when Coca-Cola, because, you had to have the drink chilled, when Coca-Cola would give many refrigerators to Kirana stores and mom and pop stores.
That red color dabba, I remember that. Yes, yes, yes.
Correct. So those fridges would be used to store Amul butter because that was a more perishable product. So it's, you have to understand India.
Jugaad.
We invented Jugaad and we invented the roadside Ronson. What was the roadside Ronson? Ronson used to be a very well-known brand of lighters. Again, Sree, and I'm coming back to the point I made earlier about packaging and sizing. Almost 70% of India's smokers, not a good thing, they buy individual sticks of cigarettes. They don't even want to invest in a lighter because of, various issues. So there's a rope.
Slow burning.
Or whatever it is.
Yeah, slow burning.
Slow burning. So you take the cigarette and you light it. And that, for many of us, is the roadside Ronson because it's always burning and it's always there.
So true, so true.
Tell me, in which country would you see that with such alarming regularity and such alarming endurance?
So true. Next question from Vignesh. Isn't the law more strict towards foreign companies in Indian company law than the domestic companies, and tax is also more than 10%? If they aren't paying taxes, probably they will be investing on infrastructures. He says that the foreign companies get taxed more than the Indian companies.
A, that's not correct because tax is not based on nationality, it's based on sector. Number two, investment has a policy, what I alluded to at the opening of my conversation with Sree, which is the foreign direct investment policy. Number three, please understand, when you say investing in infrastructure means what? Warehousing. And warehousing, as Sree talked about the Walmart example, warehousing is in places which are not within prescribed city limits. So you're not even buying the land, you're leasing the land, and it comes at a pittance. So it's not as if you're making huge sums of investment. And if you were making that huge sum of investment, you would figure in the investment list or the investor list of companies that have invested huge sums of money in India, and they don't figure anywhere. So it's a misnomer to believe that they are investing or that tax laws are against or weighed against them. They're not.
So the next question is from Shantanu Chaudhary. Whenever a particular brand or product gets large sales, then Amazon buys it under Cloudtail and adds the tag Amazon's Choice. Example, Amazon USA is not an authorized seller of JBL, which is an audio product company, but it still says JBL without warranty and JBL doesn't take any action. What are your thoughts?
Exactly my point when I gave you the Samsung example.
Right.
Plus, as I said, when you have preferred, you're breaking the law because you're supposed to be a platform. You're not an influencer. You are supposed to be my online shopping basket. You are not my personal shopper who tells me buy this, buy that, don't buy this, don't buy that. The fact that they are influencing either through pricing or by putting the product, on the landing page of that particular category in itself is skewed.
Next question is from Shreyas Maitreya. How about Amazon ripping off startups by copying technology developed by startups? I heard a startup that made an Internet of Things enabled oven. 6 months later, Amazon stole the technology and sells it as its own. Amazon doesn't make any product, so I don't think that is true. But
I don't know. I don't think that's true.
Yeah.
And if it is, it's best when Jeff Bezos is back from space to ask him that question.
Akash Krishnan wants to know, I saw your interview with Mithal Ji. According to you, we should get milk from New Zealand because that milk is better. What are your thoughts? I mean, this was the interview you gave to Mithal.
To Mithal?
Mital. Mithal. Mithal Ji. Jog your memory?
I don't know. The only time I discussed milk ever was in the context of A2 milk that was not being available at that time.
Yes.
But I don't know which mythology he's talking about.
Yeah, A2 milk is something that is now finding its way into stores in the United States also. I mean, it's 2 times the price, but it does help. I mean, it does help. For those of us weaned on A2 milk, it does help. We love it. So wherever you can get that thing, it is made from Bos Indicus cows and it's got a lot of healthy ingredients. So Suhel, we come to an end of a fascinating discussion today. Let's hope that the powers that be listen to this, listen to our suggestions. As always, we give them a lot of unasked for advice, but some of them do some of them do, ring a bell and it could help. I think everybody needs to thrive. We don't want anyone to be left behind. That's the point. If you want to say something in summary, please go ahead and then we'll call this a wrap.
As always, Sree, this must be my 8th, 9th, 10th conversation with you. What I find remarkable about these conversations is the precision, obviously fired by your intellect in asking the right questions, but more importantly, your patience and calmness in allowing people to speak, which at times is a rarity when we are discussing stuff in India on other public platforms. Having said that, thank you once again for having me. I've always been, and I keep repeating this, a great admirer of PGurus, great admirer of the work you do, and more importantly, the stance you take on issues that people would shy away from, either because of an agenda that they may be driven by or an ideology that they may be completely clouded by. You don't belong to either, and that is tremendous.
Thank you very much. Coming from you, it is very, very genuine. Namaskar. Thank you very much.
Thank you. God bless.